And I think that as parents, you're building a door. As, as a spouse, you're building a door. As, you can at the church, for the what God is doing in the world, you're building a door when you're serving at church, you're building a door when you're serving your employees and your coworkers and your teams and your fellow students and your university, your college, all those different things. Like, you're building a door just by representing Jesus all the time. And if you need training in how to do that and you wanna get more confident in the workplace and at school and stuff, serving at church is the way to go. All right, man, we're back.
We're back.
What is this, episode
It's been a
7?
couple weeks. Yeah.
7? Sweet. Is it 7, Josh?
Let me double check.
He's like, "I gotta double check too." We know it's been like 3 or 4 weeks, but man, it's been good weeks.
Very good.
We've had some really cool stuff going down,
Epic.
and, we got to celebrate 100 years as a
Yeah,
church.
boy. Yeah.
That is so cool.
So cool.
And I thought today we could just talk about it, man. We should talk about the last couple of weeks. We had Gerald speak.
Mhm.
We celebrated the 100 years for 2 weeks.
Yes.
So Pastor Gerald came, and then we had the documentary film that we did, and we can talk about those things. We're about to go into a Psalms 23 series, which is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool to just kinda sit and kinda just, I guess, reflect over the last couple of weeks. I don't know, what stands out to you the most, man?
Man, so much. The generosity of our people responding, even just bringing their widow's mite, their little bit, or their allotted bit, and just responding to, we received a birthday offering, a build the door offering, and it was the biggest offering we've ever received as a church, like in the history of our church. Not even close. And so that was really exciting. And then, man, I know just something that always stirs my heart is souls coming into the kingdom. I can't
Yeah.
think of a better way to celebrate turning 100 than we had 59 people get born again 2 weeks ago, right? When Gerald spoke. And then last week, after the documentary, 49 people responded to the
know.
altar call. And so, what is that? That's 118?
Yeah.
No, that's
108. Wait,
108.
7. Wait, 49. I don't know. Let's not do math.
It's a lot.
It's over 100.
It's over 100. We broke over 100 salvations celebrating 100 years. And so I thought the video was amazing. We talked about that. If you haven't watched that yet, just scroll over a little bit, and the documentary is available on YouTube. But I cried. I've cried every time I watched it, and it was neat that we were talking like every new group of people that we watched it with. It's like it was like watching it again and
The
kind of
first time.
experiencing it with them for the first time, and those were just some of the stories. There's so many more stories of life changing our church, but I think it gave a lot of people hope, and obviously it spoke to a lot of people, and I've talked to multiple people this week that had brought family to church that had a similar story as people in like either addiction or even I did prison time, and I don't think that God could ever use me, and like those were some of the stories, or I'm the only person that follows God in my family, and I want to know that God can save my family, and seeing people tell their stories about it started with me, but then it was my spouse, and then it was my kids, and then it was my parents, and it was my sister and his family, and
Yeah.
I think people are hungry to see that happen over and over again.
And that's the hardest thing when you're making a film and you have all these stories.
Yeah.
I mean, what's wild is in the film, from Linda's story, Ramon's story, there's interviews that I got that I couldn't even fit into this one for
Right.
the time's sake.
Right.
And what's wild is there's so much more testimony to those stories than we could even put in,
Mhm.
just because of storyline and moving it along
Yeah.
in a succinct way, right? And that's the hardest thing is the most beautiful thing I thought, and I did not expect when when Josh and I started shooting, it was, wow, like, these stories have to be told. And you just can't, you just think about, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And it was like, I feel like Sunday through the film, the church preached that Sunday.
Absolutely.
It was our people preaching, and it was them sharing testimony. And if anything, I hope that one of the takeaways is it, isn't like I mean, also it obviously feels good to say people, man, really love the film, right? But that takes a way back seat to for me to the thought of you can do the same thing. You're listening to that story, and we pointed a camera and a mic and put some lights and did some things, but like that story is what holds the power.
That's right.
That testimony of what Jesus did in your life, that's what holds the power.
Yeah.
It's not about being in a movie, it's just about telling your story,
Yeah.
right? And living it out and seeing that like Jesus made a change in their life. What's that, Pete? And this is Pete, pup hit the cat that wishes he was a dog. Um, and so everybody loves Pete. But that's I think for me, that's the thing that I love most is that those stories just needed to be told.
Amen.
And
Well, that's your heart too, is you wanna continue
yeah,
to have stories of the house and kinda have a chance to share some of the that we didn't get to fit in the film
yes.
that still need to be told. Some of those, the comeback kids stories, man, because we got a lot of comeback kids in our
Yeah.
church
Yeah.
and, a lot of stories to be told, and I absolutely, man. I fought the temptation for any preacher is to get up after a video like that and preach some more, because like, God's presence is in the room, people are crying, but you said it, man. I didn't need to say it where I just got up and said, with every head bowed and every eye closed. If you're here and
Yeah.
you don't know Jesus, that can change today, And, the gospel was already preached,
Yeah.
you know?
That's
So
what I hope people get out of the most is like it true it what Jesus has done. Here's okay, let me say it this way. I think one of the most powerful things when you come to Jesus is that he shows you. People are always like, what's next? What's the next thing I should do? Lord, what do you want me to do now? And if anything, those stories tell us the first thing that God does is he shows you retrospectively where he's been in your life.
yeah,
I think that's the first miracle. The first miracle you see when I think when you truly come to Jesus is he shows you where he's been active in your life
right.
up to that point.
Yeah,
So the testimony actually truly begins. Oh, it's when he saved your life here. It's when he allowed, and in those testimonies, she said, and wasn't in the film. Linda said, well, she ended up in prison for the second time, right?
yeah.
Well, if you back up to that story, when he got put in jail,
Mhm.
she said she went to his friend's house because she didn't know what to do. She had a little baby, didn't know what to do,
Whoa.
right? At this point, they had their baby, and so she pulls up to his friend's house, and she's sitting outside the house, and nobody's there, and she has nowhere to go. And she says, "Lord, I can't do this without you," and basically prays, like, knowing she said, "I knew that when I prayed for God to intervene in my life, and when I gave him my life, that I was gonna end up in jail. I knew that's where I was gonna go because I knew that's where God was gonna take me to help
Mhm.
me."
Yeah.
She said the next day she got arrested. She prayed that full well knowing that she was gonna go back to jail if she surrendered to God,
Wow.
and she did.
Wow.
But that's where she in the film, you see her receive her calling.
Yeah.
You will be someone that goes back.
Come on.
Isn't that cool? And
Very
so,
cool.
I
I
love
love the, what got different parts got me in different services. One of them was Stormy. When Stormy, said the line, when I brushed my teeth, I would just look down because couldn't look at myself in the mirror, you know? Gosh. And then to see his life change and him raising those baby girls, and they're driving down the road and they're looking to him, "Dad, you haven't prayed for us yet?" And he said, "'Cause God, he gave me this new life." I'm like, "Gosh." I went up to him the 4 after church. I was like, "Bro, thank you for sharing your story in that video." And he goes, "Man, thank you for letting me be a part of this." And I said, "I just have one question for you. You look in the mirror now?" He goes, "Every day." Bro,
Yeah,
I was like, and everybody in the foyer was like crying. And it was just, it was a powerful, powerful moment. You
yeah.
know?
That's the one shot we wanted to get was we wanted to close his story out with him brushing his teeth and closing the mirror, and you see his reflection, and he smiles.
Come on.
That's where we wanted
Come
to
on.
that's where we wanted to end that, but it was just there's I can't you remember 2019 when we did the Easter film? Brian and I did the Easter film?
Yes.
Um,
Lifted.
Lifted.
Yeah.
We had this shot with Miss Sandra Gray out in the cemetery where, like, she was sitting on this bench, and we had this camera on this huge boom, and I was controlling it with a controller, and it did this swooping through the trees crane action where it was above good lord, this cat. And, like, came down, swooped around, and, like, faced her, like, from a profile shot, looking at, like, a gravestone, right, for the
Cool.
scene.
Yeah.
We didn't even use it because there's some shots you get, they're, like, the most your favorite shots don't even make the cut.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting, and so, it it's just
Well, I felt like what needed to be in there was
it was
definitely in there. I mean, you
exact
were led by God, and it was really cool too because the sermons leading up, we didn't script that.
no.
Like that, we didn't know that those were gonna line up perfectly with the testimonies, what people said, and how that was all weaved together. I thought that was really cool and really masterful because people were preaching
Yeah.
the messages, in their own way through their own stories, and it's cool.
It was like
It's gonna happen a lot more.
yeah, it's the Build the Door series, that first sermon, Josh and I, we filmed, I think, 2 of those sermons, the first 2, and well, in pre-planning and just it took a month of just pre-planning to figure out how we wanted to tell the story.
Mhm.
Then, the idea came, was like, "Well, what if, Just Build a Door has to be" that is the vision, that is it has to revolve around that,
Yeah.
and so taking your sermon and the points of your sermon, and I probably went through that sermon a dozen times,
God
just
bless you.
finding clips that would be story and it hit me, this could be story movers, like, these truths, and I like, we'll have the interject sermon pieces, is all I thought. Then we started interviewing people,
And they started, like,
and everything started
illustrating
I
the
could see it in my head just going, just boom, they have, like, those little with charging your kid? Draw a line to the thing that
Yeah.
all those lines just started connecting, and, like, literally when I told you guys, I was like, "Guys, I know we were planning on, like, a 15-minute film, but this thing is taking on a life of its own." It was literally like God was building it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just so cool, like, just Jesus was just, like, a huge part of the process,
Yep.
just helping us tell this story in such a way that because honestly, we want people that watch it now to be encouraged wherever they're at. We want
Yep.
people to be excited about the future of SAF, also honoring what's come before us,
Yes.
and that was a huge part of it too. I wanted to honor Dave. I wanted to and Delana. I wanted to honor all those who came before us and show that, like, every little thing, just standing at the door welcoming someone makes it feel like home. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, and
Oh, yeah.
anyone can do that.
Yep.
Anyone can do that. Doesn't the pastor doesn't have to do that. The pastor could and should or whatever, but, like, you can, like, life groups, look at every single one of the people in that film. What was the game changer for them? Life groups.
Yeah. True.
Life groups.
To the
It
person.
and serving. And I think if we can dabble in this topic for just a moment,
Yes.
it kind of pricks at me in a negative way when people don't or feel like serving is something that, like, they just can't do, or
Yeah.
it's just, "Oh, it's too much," or "I'm not called to that." I just feel like I've just seen too much other testimony of people who have more joy,
Yeah.
and they have more, and they discover their giftings and different things in serving. If you look at each one of those stories, those testimonies, serving didn't burn them out. Serving didn't make them get church hurt or any of those things. It helped, like Ramon said, that was his training
Mhm.
for the calling that he stepped into.
Yep.
Of course, so now he doesn't train as much at the church, but on the weekends and on Friday nights and all these things, those guys are man, I got to go sit with Andrew at Turning Point. I was leading a
That's right.
Bible study, and they're and it was hard to get them to be able to do certain times of shooting because of all the things
So
that they're doing.
and that's proof right there that when we say, you know, make a difference, serve others, that we're not just saying, "Hey, help us put on our church services."
Yeah. Help us
I mean,
do this thing. Yeah.
obviously that's something we get to do together. We get to be an army, not an audience, but like we want people to discover their God-given purpose. And it might start out as a greeter of a church or teaching a kids class or leading a life group, but it may turn into you're leading an entire jail ministry, or Andrew does the ministry for recovering addicts on Friday nights. has, and it's not even at our church. You know, those are people who have gone out and are making a difference in the community, and that's the goal. Yes, yes, we need people to hold babies and open doors and lead worship and all that stuff. And by the way, that's a total joy. And you know what I hear so much? I hear people say, I've heard people in the past say, "Well, I'm just so busy." And you and I both know this. There's an old saying, "If the devil can't make you bad, he'll make you
Will
busy."
make you busy.
And I just wonder, like, what are people missing out on because they won't give God their yes, and they won't be all in on this thing called the church,
Right.
that Jesus is all personally building. He said, "I will build my church," and we wanna be about what Jesus is about. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Serving, life groups, those were huge parts of the story. And you know what? Some people will join a life group before they ever serve, and some people will join a serve team before they ever join a life group. But I think
Yeah, your cat.
those 2
Yeah.
things are major pieces that God uses, like, in our formation. It's when you start getting in there with other people,
Yeah,
rubbing
dude,
shoulders
and
and
it's so much fun. I mean, that's the thing, like, everybody calls SAF home because they find family and friends,
yeah,
and it's a joy to, like, show up with your friends. He's all about it today, dude. You see how he opened that door?
yeah,
He opened the door, that's wild. Anyway, it's like, if for those of you listening, my cat Pete, who everybody loves, especially those with allergies, is jumping around on our laps and just trying to, get all the love he can while we're on the podcast. Um,
he's desperate for attention.
dude, look he likes you too, look at that. So, here's I like to look at it this way. In business or in home life, like your home, wherever whatever facet of life you find yourself pursuing the most, there are certain key elements to that you have
Yeah,
to be, um, successful. There's key elements that you have to be, to represent Christ well,
yeah,
to be a good, friendly person, and everywhere in the church you can serve teaches you different elements. Like, try to run a business and not be hospitable.
yeah,
Okay, if you find yourself struggling with being maybe your personality isn't very outgoing and don't use yourself, "Well, I'm an introvert, so I can't be on a greeting team." So, no, I'm an introvert, so I need to be on the greeting team.
wow.
You need to flip the script, right? You
Yeah,
you can't it's I think we have a society that we label ourselves and we self-diagnose,
mm,
and we don't wanna do anything to fix it. We
right,
just wanna go, "That's who I am."
yeah,
And Christ says, "No, it's not. You aren't your shortcomings, you aren't your deficiencies. Where you're weak, I'll be strong." And so if you're struggling with hospitality or well, go serve on the greeting team and learn to say hi and shake hands and look people in the eye, remember names. Oh, I'm not gonna remember names. We'll learn, practice,
yeah,
right? And tell me in a few months of doing that, if that doesn't carry over in every area of our life,
come on.
that your home doesn't become a more hospitable place, that the place you work, people don't go, there's something different about you, that you're more confident and you're in your, you know what I mean? Tell me that's not going to translate into like 15 other things
Yeah,
or the nursery, right? Holding someone else's child and a heart of compassion for others,
yeah,
right? And patience in the children's ministry and joy also that you can sit back there and play with blocks with a kiddo that maybe doesn't have a mom or a dad at home or, whatever it may be. Like, there's so many things that you do that's so kingdom eternal,
yeah,
that the impact is so much bigger than you think that, the baptism team, we have, worship. I mean, goodness gracious, like, playing an instrument and seeing the Lord, like, I think we get caught up if we're not careful. We get caught up in the duty of it,
mm,
and then when our heart leaves it, it becomes a duty, and then we blame the church for burnout.
yeah,
What happens really though is you served only and you never soaked.
wow,
You know what I mean? What really happened was you forgot the heart by which you were called to serve, and you served by duty and obligations what it became.
yeah,
Versus, Lord, praying every day, Lord, with my presence here, how can I make an impact for the
come on,
kingdom
yeah,
and represent you well and love well and serve well and make friends and these different things? I just think your heart by what you do anything determines not only how long you're going to be
yeah,
in it, but like, you know, the what God can do in you and through you in that regard, right?
yeah,
We actually have someone on the welcome team who's like super like, I am not a people person, but they're out there every single because they're shy.
Right.
But they're out there every single Sunday greeting and stuff, and you'd never know it,
Yeah.
you know? So, I don't know, I think it's a beautiful thing, and so I can't wait to do more
Serving, not
stories.
soaking. That'll preach.
Yeah.
You can get so busy doing the work of the Lord that you forget the Lord of the work, right?
You
We
can't
could
be a
just
Martha
Yeah, you can just get
without
busy and
being a Mary.
be duty bound and, and forget your why. Forget why you do what you do and who you do it for. That's everything.
Yeah.
Forget and I love that you brought this up, and just forgive me for maybe stating the obvious, but this vision, this build a door vision that we've been talking about, with, me and Sarah standing out in a field and, the basics are all these animals were around and they didn't have shelter. And so we grabbed a hammer and nails. We started framing out a door, which, by the way, that was cool in the video. Your dad with his biceps out, like, hey, that was so cool, man. And just lifting the door and the dust flying off of it and the light and the little girl going through. I was like, oh, it was just so it was a cinematic masterpiece.
Oh,
But I think we like to focus on the miracle part of it, like people in general, human nature.
yeah,
We like to focus on, and the building came down out of heaven.
yeah,
But we can't miss the obvious precursor of that. It's just people working. It's just people taking a hammer and nails and going, we're just going to do what we know we can do. We're going to build a door. And it doesn't make sense. And we can't see how this will make a difference. And this will, right? I mean, God will do God's part, but we have to do our part.
that's right.
We have to give. We have
Feels
to,
like work.
yeah. And it's going to feel like work and sow and serve and pray and invite. And I think if we will all build a door, God's going to do his part. Like there's no question. God's going to do God.
Yeah,
And I think he's looking for a faithful people, though, that will be good stewards.
yeah,
And I do think as a church, we're in a stewardship season, but we're like, we want to make every dollar count. We want to make every event, every service. Like we're all about souls and we're about building a door and preparing for the future.
yeah,
So it's cool, but it is gonna take all of us, and I think that's what I loved about it was in the language in the video. You said it, it's our turn.
yeah.
I love that Gerald preached on Hebrews 11.
Dude, yeah, that was we
Bro,
had the
I mean
Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the
yeah.
past, the present, the future.
Yes.
How faith I love that, dude, the whole idea that we always talk about my faith. Faith is something we receive.
Yeah.
He's about faith in that
Abel
in the
offered
Bible, it's giving, it's an
Yeah.
offering.
Yeah. They talked about what were the 3 W's? Worship, walk, and
Witness.
witness, right? Because he did Abel, Enoch, and Noah, which is cool because we've been talking about Noah built an ark and
I know.
put a door in the ark for the saving of his household, right? And then the obvious connection is Hebrews 12:1. Therefore, what do they tell you? Every time you see the word therefore, you should look before it and see
Yeah.
what it's there for. Hebrews 11, the great hall of faith, all these
Yeah.
people that walked by faith and built a door. And then the writer of Hebrews says, therefore, now let us. Since we are surrounded by this great cloud of witnesses, all these saints, all these people of faith, and the last 100 years of SAFers,
Yeah.
First Assembly people that were faithful, they're all watching. They're looking over the banisters of heaven going, all right, it's their turn now. What are they going to do with it?
Yeah.
How are they going to run their race? Paul said, let us run our race with endurance. That's marked out for us,
Yeah.
And so I just thought that was perfect. Gerald didn't know anything about what we've been talking about. And I think he was led by God and it flowed right into the film.
Yeah.
And it's our turn, man. Like I feel like a lot of people feel in our church, they feel the burden in a good way, like the responsibility, like let's do this. There's a lot of excitement and a lot of just emotions. The people, and to your point, the people that were the most emotional on Sunday and the last couple of Sundays, I had people come up to me in tears, like, thank you that I get to be a part of this, which that will never get old. Are you kidding me?
Right.
We don't have people complaining about getting put on a greeter schedule or a nursery schedule. I mean, I have to say, no, we have people that are crying because they get to. And I'm not making that's really happening.
No, yeah, for
But
sure.
the people that are the most emotional are the people that are the most involved because they're serving and they're like, man, I like Like, literally, this is a true story. I went through the bank drive-through last week, right? Before this past Sunday, the film, and I'm not joking, 5 people came up to the window and were like, in the mic, "Pastor Lane, what's up? I go to SAF now 'cause of her," like, she invited, "Yeah, we were there too." I mean, like, and they kept coming up and being like, talking to me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Are you kidding me?" Like SAF is taking over this, Texas Trust Bank, and it was so cool, and one of the girls go, "How was the offering on Sunday?" Like, they care. They wanted to know, you know, um, "How'd we do?" You know what I mean? "How'd we do?"
Yeah.
And so and I had never even got a chance to meet them, and they're just excited about it and inviting everybody that they work with, and I think that's happening all over town
Yeah.
in a lot of different pockets, and God's doing it.
That's so cool. I love it, man, because like you said, that I think that things like this, stories, testimonies, man, we could talk a long time if we had the time about just when God says, remember,
Mm.
remember, remember, and tells the Israelites, hey, tell this to the next generation, the next generation, the next generation, so they'll never forget the exploits of the Lord and they'll always remain faithful. And
Yep.
we see how, like, they didn't. And we see what the fallout from that just one generation. And so I'm thinking, man alive, like I don't know, I know as Josh and I shot these interviews, I was like, this has to keep going.
Yeah.
This has to keep going
Mhm.
because these stories need to be told, and they have the power to save because Christ is the turning point of every story. Is
Yep.
it's just beautiful that God met everyone right where they were at, and there's so many stories like that, and our church is full of them, and just like the simple fact that you can get out of your comfort zone and show up at a life group and be the only one. Kristen was our OG life group member. She was the first
She was
one,
the
and
first one?
she was the first one
Wow.
when we started the life group, dude. And like, what's so great about that was that it was like 3 weeks where it was like just her, and then people started coming and coming, and then we had like the biggest family. It was so much fun, and she spoke to that, but it was just like
Yeah.
it was so great, like, and we did that for years, and but it all started with going, you know what, I'm gonna take a chance. But here's the thing. I don't think you can do any of these things without vision.
Yeah.
The Bible says, "Without vision, people cast off all restraint." And I think it requires restraint to stay in the game,
Mm.
right? It requires restraint to say no to this other extracurricular activity so I can be emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically prepared for this one.
Yeah.
And and where there's vision, there's value,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that, the film, I think it casts a vision. People go, "Oh my god, I'm a part of something so much bigger than I realized."
Yeah.
And that's still just one piece
Yeah.
of the big capital C church that's that
Yeah.
God's doing stuff all over the world, you
I
know?
think you can show up on a Sunday and not really know how God is changing
And it's
lives.
okay to not know, and that's what people
Yeah.
can understand. It's like,
Yeah.
it's okay to show up and what it also, when we talk about faith, it said all of these did what? Not seeing the
Yeah.
fulfillment of the promise.
Right.
They all
But they were looking
by faith,
forward to a city,
they were
right?
looking forward.
A homeland.
Right. They all remain faithful to the Lord. Were destitute. That some of them, there was victory and there was triumph and there was all these amazing exploits and feats. And then there were those on the back end of Hebrews 11
Yeah.
who were like, and
They were
these
sawn in
were
2.
sawn in
They were
two. They were
of the
murdered.
lions, yeah.
Yeah, and they roamed around in animal skin and lived in caves of whom the world was not worthy.
Come on.
Right? It's not up to you and me to see the fulfillment.
Yeah.
It's it's up to us to be obedient. It's
That's
up
right.
to us to be the hands and feet of Jesus.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm so stoked, man. Like that. I have all the faith in the world, and I have literally. I'm just at this place where I'm like, I'm watching what the God's doing, and if He said I'm going to bring a building out of heaven, that means it's going to be a divine thing,
Yeah.
and He's going to do it in such a way that He's given all the glory, and whatever that door looks like for us, we're going to keep building it. And I think that just means God saying, stay faithful.
Yep.
Stay faithful to the word, stay faithful to me, keep listening, keep serving, keep loving, keep making a dent, keep and us we're gonna keep casting vision and keep discipling and
Yep.
making disciples and you just keep doing that. I'll worry about this here.
Amen.
I'll do this,
Yeah.
right? Just get the ball rolling.
Yes.
Which is and here's the picture I see in my head too. obviously, you talked about Noah started building the ark long before he ever saw the rain.
Yeah.
You saw you s and I one of the pictures I thought of was when Joshua takes over for Moses. It said, "Carry the ark into the Jordan in a flood season," but it wasn't until they put their feet in the water till the water started to recede,
Yeah. Come on.
right?
Yeah.
It's you have it we have to be in step with the presence and the Spirit of God, and as we take steps, He begins to part the waters. He
Yes.
begins to bring the rain. He does those things, and I just think that as long as we just stay there and we keep doing what we do with joy and we keep loving people and more testimonies like this continue to happen,
Yeah.
like, just continue to be the church. It's the simple, simple things, and like you said, it doesn't feel like a miracle, but it is. In and of itself, you're gonna look up 100 years later and go, "Wow, they stuck that out. They stuck that out. Wow, that was almost destroyed by that and this and that, but they remained faithful and they stayed true and they kept their eyes on the prize and the vision and God
Yeah.
kept moving and look where we're at
Yeah.
today. We have a church with testimonies like that because people came before us and did this, this, and this
Yep.
and just stuck it out sometimes.
Yes.
You know?
I
How
tell you what, was cool, um, kind of unrelated, but to our church that I think more and more people are getting this heart. That last night I got to go to an event in town called Rally the Village, and it was for foster care, adoption. You know, basically, it was put on by a ministry called Open Homes Initiative, and so they want it to where there aren't more kids in the foster system waiting on families. There are more families waiting on kids. Like,
yeah,
and honestly, we only need 41 homes in San Angelo to be able to meet the need to,
really.
yeah, 41.
That's it.
100,000 people. We need 41 homes so that when someone, their home life gets blown up, a kid doesn't have to get shipped off to another city, maybe separate from his siblings or her siblings. But we had a room full of people at the Concho Stables. And you know what touched my heart? It was so cool looking around and seeing SAF people everywhere.
That's awesome.
I mean, foster parents, adopting, CASA workers, case workers. I mean, everywhere almost every table, there was someone from our church there, you know? Um, and it was just so cool because we had a table of 8 of our church that were sitting with me, but there was a dozen other people around that had their own table. They were inviting people too. And that's just one example. I feel like that's just one example, but you could come on a Sunday and never know that. Never know that you're sitting next to somebody that is opening their home, and they've got 3 teenage girls that are living with them because their home life got blown up and they're hurting, and, man, it was one more thing that God really ministered to me, and I was proud of our church because people, they see a need and they meet it, man.
Yeah.
They've got the heart of God, and I think God's honoring that. I think he really is, and so it's cool. God's doing, man.
Dude, to that, you know, we know when it comes to foster care and adoption, these different things, like, you can be moved in a service and you can be moved at a dinner,
Yeah,
but we know the ins and out of anything meaningful in life is always messy. It's
that's
the
right.
kitchen versus the dining room,
Yep.
right? And I think that we have to understand that. And I think that if anyone's listening to this and you're thinking, like, man, they're talking about serving and all these things a whole lot, that's the gospel.
Yeah,
Like, we
yeah.
can't forget that it's not about us.
Mhm.
Our faith isn't about us, it's about others, and we cannot forget that in our selfish, self-centered American,
Yeah,
individualistic society and culture, that
yeah,
it ain't about me.
yeah.
It's about what God wants to do through me, and that
Right.
means that, you know what? You're gonna serve and you're gonna do things, and you're not gonna feel it anymore, and that's when it becomes worship. That's where most people quit.
Dude, the speaker last night, I love that you just said that because his whole thing was that, his name is Jason Johnson. He's written some books and stuff, but, he talked about how the art of storytelling is that, and I know you'll love this, but like the basic ways that stories are, like there's the underdog who like the Rocky or the
Yeah, the
Rudy,
Rocky stories.
or the pursuit of happiness, the Cinderella, the rags to riches,
Yes.
or like the voyage to the long voyage to finally arriving, or but in all the stories, what makes it a great story is that there's tension.
Mhm.
And then there's release and resolve, and you're like, "Oh, they climbed the mountain. They," you know what I mean?
Yep.
They won the fight. They won the game. The relationship made it, or they put the ring into the fires of Mount Doom, and,
Yeah, yeah.
but he's like, but and that's the thing is, like, we think that in Christianity, we pray prayers like, "God, I'm all in as long as it's easy." As long as there's no tension in my life, then I'll serve you. And God's like, but that's not a great story.
No.
And it's not even, and you would admit that it's not, you don't want to, if it's a story with no tension, you don't want to watch the movie. You don't want to read the book. We love stories with tension when it's someone else's story.
Yeah.
He's like, but God's like, no, but your story will have tension and resolve and release and victory and heartache and sorrow and joy and 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 we do hard things for
right.
Jesus. Like willingly, we walk into hard things that maybe don't see resolve for 7 years or ever on this side of heaven in some ways.
Yeah.
But it was very challenging, and I'm looking around at a bunch of people in the room that they're literally living that. Um, they're fostering babies, and there's trauma and there's PTSD, and they're saying, but and it's crazy that people will go through heartache like that, or maybe just give your heart away to a kid and watch them drive away one day, with their bio family because that mom got clean, or but to love anyway,
Yeah.
because that's what Jesus would do, and to serve anyway, even when you're busy or when you're tired or when you're hurting, to show up and pray for someone else at the end of service, or it's all for God, and He's worth it, and people are worth it.
Yeah.
But we do ourselves a disservice to just look for only easy,
Yeah.
inconvenient, and to think that a lack of tension is the goal.
Yeah.
But tension makes a great story.
Well, it's funny you say it too, because like that was the part. So when I was trying to write kind of a screenplay, kind of like script out, kind of like the overall. That's the question. That's what. Where's the tension?
Oof. There you go.
That is big, and I think that there's events where there was tension in our church that it's still too close to throw in the film,
Yeah.
right? Because it wouldn't be a unifying thing.
Right.
Um, and so I was like, okay, if I can't introduce this tension, which would be a beautiful monumental way to make a true documentary film, right here,
Yeah.
it would be the tension isn't everyone's story.
Right.
This tension and triumph, tension and triumph, tension and
Yes.
triumph. And so that's how we introduced tension into the film,
That's right.
was starting out obviously with the history going, wait a second, there's a vision that's been given. What do we do?
Mm.
What does that mean? And then pairing that with the building of the door footage kind of interwoven for people going, what's even happening with this guy and the sandpaper and what's all this happening? But you have
So
this
cool.
creative element woven through.
Yeah.
And then you get the final, triumphal moment is you see the door at the end finally, right? And then you've got these stories of, oh, yeah, these three little ladies prayed and it kind of moved along, and then you're seeing how God kind of actually, wow, like they came before us and they started turning the ship, and then they did this and this, and then boom, and here we are, and here's where we're going, and like
Yeah.
you're casting vision about the smaller rule of things, and it just but these stories of tension, and then boom, and I think that's where people just went.
Mm.
Like, it just that zeroed in right there was
Clicked.
just hearing those testimonies, and their stories are incredible. Their stories are incredible, and
Yeah.
here's what's so cool too, and I'll say this about Stormy. Stormy's my dude, man. I led him to Jesus when he was 17
Yep.
because he was on my skateboard team.
Yep.
I don't know, we might have to interject some of that footage into this, but, I had Enigma Skate Apparel, was a skate apparel company I had, and he he was on my skaters. He had long, like, crazy long, hippie, curly hair, dude, like, he was a cool dude.
It's kinda looking like he needs to be an extra on The Chosen right now.
I know, dude. And then we get him hired here in his beard. Yeah, dude. And he's got that sweet 50s military jacket he's wearing
Yeah.
now. So, yeah, dude. He's a cool, incredible skateboarder. He
Cool.
was
I didn't know that.
insane. And we've got footage where him and I did Blue 42.
With a name like Stormy, you gotta be
Oh, yeah.
you gotta be something. You gotta be good at something.
Get something. we had a skateboard, promos we were in that were on the news back then and stuff,
Oh,
where I was like the guy, "Yo, man, here's my boy Stormy, bro." You know, this whole deal. I had my gauges in still, and all this stuff, dude. And like, "Y'all check it out," you
some
know?
punk rock, dude.
Oh, dude, it was so funny, man, that, I'm like, what, 24 or something?
Yeah.
And then, and it's like him skating, he's like, "Hey, all the single ladies, hit me up." Like and he's like skateboarding, dude,
Oh
it's so
my
great.
god.
But literally, the day we shot that promo, the day before that is when I led him to Jesus.
Come on.
And it was 17 years later,
Mm,
I get to baptize him.
yeah. You can't make that stuff up.
Come on, dude.
That's a cool
That's the
story.
stuff we couldn't put in the film, though, because
Yeah.
it just didn't move the story along. It would just feel like
Mhm.
but there's so much more to it.
Yeah.
And to what you were saying earlier, like, man, it was through a skateboard apparel company, loving Jesus, I get to, lead someone to Jesus that I don't get to see the fruit of for 17 years.
Mhm. Yep.
You know what I mean?
It's the way it goes.
I had one of my students, my former students, when I used to teach a Bible class at Cornerstone, come up to me 2 weeks ago at church. She said, "I don't know if you remember me." I was like, "Yes, I remember you. What's up? It's so good to see you." She's graduated college. She's doing like, amazing things. She's like, "I just want you to know that like that 7th grade Bible class changed the trajectory for me. Like, just I love reading the word and blah blah blah." And I'm like,
Wow.
that's so cool to hear, man, because like that was when 2015,
Mm.
so 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just been the Lord. I think the Lord just allows those little things every now and then to happen. But here's the thing.
Absolutely.
You'll never hear those stories and you'll never make a difference if you aren't out doing the thing that feels
Come
like
on.
work.
That's it.
And it's not worship till it feels like work.
Yeah.
It's
That's it.
just not.
Yeah.
And so you just got to do it.
Gotta get started.
Get started. And you're so needed. And I hope everyone listening knows our hearts is just like, everything we do. And I don't think people realize how small our staff is. Like, and I just want to say it. I think we have maybe 10 or 11 people total that like, and that's between stipend, part-time, and full-time.
Yeah.
We have 1,500 people plus that show up every single Sunday.
Yeah.
So really, we have people on staff that work full-time jobs and then come and serve.
Yep.
And all week in the evenings they're doing things. And we have a very mixed, and I say that for what reason? I think people think it's much bigger than it is, but I want them to know.
Someone else will do it.
So yeah,
They don't need me.
no,
Yeah, we do.
everything we do is servant-based. It's
Yeah.
servant leadership.
Yeah.
Everything we do is the church being the church.
Yeah.
And there's some of us that have to, obviously we have pastors on staff, you, me, and a couple others are doing the funerals and the weddings and the marriage counseling and the counseling, all the different things.
Mhm.
But our heart is that there's, like you've said it, there's no professional Christianity. There's no professional Christian. Like,
Yeah.
this is a church where we want the church to be the church
Mhm.
and God to move and do what it does, but the church powers this thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
the way Jesus designed it to be. And so if you're wondering if you're needed, yeah, absolutely. Is it gonna be awesome? Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Yeah, you're gonna experience joy and fulfillment. Yeah, but you're also gonna feel monotony. You're also gonna get to the point where you feel like it's an obligation and you have to take your heart. You're gonna have to and then you have to choose worship anyway. Worship's when I deny myself sleep to do something for him. Like, you know what I mean? It's when I don't go with what I'm feeling and my emotions all the time, and I do what's right.
Yep.
And I choose to think outside of myself, and I think that's called parenting. That's fostering. That's all these different things we talked about.
Right.
And so I don't know. I hope
Maybe somebody that's listening to this right now just needs to get on our website right now.
yeah, sign up for it.
StAngeloFirst.org. Get on the life group tab. If you're not in a life group, like literally sign up like today, right? You could
Yeah.
literally put your info in. A life group leader will contact you,
Yeah,
or they could sign up for the Next Steps class.
Yeah.
Which is coming up 1st of December.
I think so.
Yeah, but there's information about serve teams that will let you know ways to serve. We've highlighted several of them just now, but
Yeah.
I think it's time to take an action step. Like, I think we could sit around again,
Mhm.
build a door. We could sit around for years and talk about what God might do or what God could do or what if one day, or we could just get a hammer and nails and go, let's get in the field. Like, start doing something. Yeah.
That's right. If you wanna be a part of the stories that you see in that film, which you can check out right now, it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube. We'll throw a link on Facebook and stuff later today, but, it's if you haven't seen it, check it out.
Yeah.
But if you wanna be a part of a life change and God doing incredible things for God to use you like that, all he needs is your yes.
Come on.
All he needs is your yes, and you know what? God's gonna minister to you in the process. I feel like we grow with God the most when we go with God. You grow with God when you
Yeah.
go with God.
Yeah.
And I think God when you're following God, you're never stationary. When God calls you out of something, he's always calling you to something else.
Yeah.
He doesn't pull you back without sending you to you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and so and I just feel like, yeah, I think there's some people that are going, what can I do? They're going to see,
Yeah.
hey, just get faithful. Just do some things, jump into something, take a leap of faith.
It's when church gets fun too.
It is.
Like, it's great to come on a Sunday and worship and hear the singing and hear the message and take notes and receive communion and all powerful. But, like, when church starts to f in that video, everybody was saying, "This it felt like home."
Like, oh,
It was family. It was like, for church to where you make friends that feel like family fast, and you start to discover your God-given purpose and potential, and, like, you start feeling like you're making a difference in someone's life, and maybe someone's going to heaven because of you, because of your testimony and
yeah,
your friendship and um, dude, that's when church is really fun and really life-giving and really fulfilling, and I want that. I know you want that for every person that's listening to this, watching
everybody.
this, and, it might just need to be that you need to pull the trigger, like, you need to get you need to give God your yes, and don't wait another day.
Start building the door.
Start building the door.
Start building the door for someone. You
Amen.
know, that's what you're doing. You're building a door.
And it might be for someone in the future that you never get to meet,
Yeah,
like those ladies that prayed 100 years ago. Like, they get to, in heaven, are gonna hear thank you. I think Stormy's gonna find those ladies in heaven.
yeah,
I think Linda Freeman is gonna find those ladies in heaven and say thank you because, you didn't know the impact your prayers had. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I mean, there's some little old lady that was teaching Sunday school class in our church 50 years ago that we never met, you know? But maybe that lady taught someone who ended up growing up and becoming the pastor of the church. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or who knows who they led to the Lord, who led to the Lord,
I know.
we're part of a grand story that God has been weaving, and
Yes.
it's a privilege to get to stand on the shoulders of those who've come before us, but also build a door for the future, you know? Because I love that you ended the video with a little girl walking through the door, it's the next generation. That's who we're doing it for.
Yeah.
And, I believe that younger generation's gonna change the world, bro, like, for real. So,
They're on fire, man.
on fire.
That's it. That's
So
why
it's an
I
honor and
loved it,
privilege.
having the older gentleman, and then they were building the frame and building the door, and then it was intentional, then it was the little
Ooh,
girl. They're building it for the next generation. That was kind of the visual to hopefully kinda be there, was that you had the older generation building the door for the younger generation.
come on.
So, that was kind of the heart behind that, why we did that way.
I love that.
So, yeah. Of course, my dad was, with the post hole diggers and stuff, he's like, "I don't think I'm old enough for this." I was like, "You'll do." I was like, "You're doing that." And then to have his granddaughter, that's Rory,
That was Rory, wasn't it?
yeah, so it's kind of like this kind of almost like beautiful, like, my dad really has my mom, they've built a door just generationally by remaining married and,
Yeah.
and really fighting to stay married and sacrifice their for every us growing up, and
Mhm.
so they built a door for me to be able to have the life I have and to have a better foundation,
Come on.
right? And I think that as parents, you're building a door as a spouse, you're building a door as, you can at the church, for the what God is doing in the world, you're building a door when you're serving at church, you're building a door when you're serving your employees and your coworkers and your teams and your fellow students and your university, your college, all those different things. Like you're building a door just by representing Jesus all the time. And if you need training in how to do that and you want to get more confident in the workplace and at school and stuff, serving at church is the way to go.
Yeah.
It's gonna impact the way you live your life at home and all these different things. So, man, we want you to know, if you're listening to this, watching this, that we love you. We're so grateful
Yep.
to be a part of what God's doing in San Angelo, Texas.
Amen.
We have I'll say, we're partial, but we have the best church in the world. I
I
love it.
think so too.
And, our people are so awesome. I really believe that. I mean, when I came in 2016 from Rock the Pumpkin, I felt the warm welcome, and that's our heart is unreasonable hospitality, man. We want
Yeah.
people to feel the warm welcome of Jesus every time they step foot or cross the threshold or the property line,
Yep.
and for them to encounter Jesus and
Yes.
grow in Jesus. And one of the best ways to do that is just through, well, we have so many things to offer, and maybe we need to say it more. Maybe when you say more, hey, invite more, whatever it may be. But
Yeah.
hey, just know there's a place for you. We love you.
Yeah. Let's build the door for 100 more.
That's right. That's right. Be awesome.
Unless we go to heaven, then I'm down with that. But
Yeah, I'm down with
as long
you
as we're
somewhere
here,
too.
as long as we're here,
Yeah, as long
let's
as
build a
we're
door.
keep building towards the future.
Amen.
That's really funny. I think it would be a great place to end was with that thought of going, every generation before said Jesus coming back soon, Jesus coming back soon.
Mhm.
But every generation is still built for the future.
Yeah. Yep.
No different now.
Amen.
Let's just keep doing it, man. Longing for the return of our Lord and Savior and building a door for the future at the same time.
Both.
It's both.
Come, Maranatha. Come, Lord, quickly. Come quickly, Lord, right? Come quickly. Come, Lord. How does it go? Maranatha.
Yeah, go look it up. ChatGPT.
But also, a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. We're
That's right.
we're planning for 100 years and hoping he comes back tomorrow. But either way, we're
Right.
going to be people of faith. We're going to build a door.
That's right. Serve the Lord, invest in crypto. I'm kidding.
Amen. I love it.
Yeah, awesome.
I
Well,
love-
cool, man. I've enjoyed reflecting on the last couple of weeks,
Me too.
and I can't wait to hear the stories that come out of it. And just and if you're listening, like you said, the film's up on YouTube. We're
Yep.
gonna be doing more stories of the house. We've got interviews that we recorded that we haven't released yet. There's so much we're gonna be coming out as we, just get more time. This cat is shedding all over me. But we're really excited about it, and and here also. Yes, on our website, you can sign up to serve, life groups, all those things. When you go on the website, sanangelofirst.org, and you click on the next steps, I believe in there's a share your testimony or share your story tab. I forgot to mention this Sunday, but if you're listening to this and you've made it this far, we want to hear your story.
Yep.
Go on sanangelofirst.org, type on the next steps, little circle pops up in the bottom right hand of the screen, and find share your testimony. Tell us your story. Obviously we can't film everyone's story, but there might be a chance, man, we can look. We love reading those, hearing the stories. It just blesses us. We want to be able to share those things, but that would be so awesome
I
because
agree.
we want to be able to shoot these things at least once a month, be able
Yeah.
to go and have a video, another story of the house.
Amen.
And I just think the stories need to be told. And if God's given us the means to do it, we're going to do it.
Yeah. Please share.
Yes.
Please share. We want to hear it.
Awesome.
It'll touch hearts.
Yeah. Well, God bless you guys. Thanks for listening. And we'll catch you next time.